lupa ng araw ng luwan, hatid pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya ng pag may mga api, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
From Sarangani Province, Philippines, the seven-time champion of the world, Manny
It does. So he has a better chance to affect Radio's arms and head down. Well, one thing, intelligent fighter. Oh my gosh, what straight up that. And will Hatton make it up from this?
Can he beat the count?
Is that it? And Kenny Bama says, no way, that is that. What an amazing knockout shot.
When it comes to pride, we Filipinos seem to embody different kind of pride that is utterly recognizable, especially when it is exhibited on social media platforms. Well, that's a good thing. After all, it's more fun in the Philippines. I mean, what's not to be proud of from being a Filipino living in the Philippines? A beautiful archipelago filled with different cultures which became more, I would say, colorful after being influenced by historical colonies, globally recognized talented and creative people, and the list goes on. Pride, according to Oxford Language, is defined as a feeling of deep pleasure or satisfaction derived from one's own achievements, the achievements of those with whom one is closely associated, or from qualities or possessions that are widely admired.
Because now we're like only one step away from the live shows.
A little more nervous, actually.
But to what extent this pride becomes toxic? To what extent this pride becomes a reflection of how self-worth insecure we are as a nation, which leads to thirst for global recognition becoming real? We need to talk about Filipino pride. This is what I meant to say when I talk about Filipinos having a very distinct and easily recognizable pride. It's Filipino pride. Actually, this is the pride you feel when a certain Filipino successfully made it to the global stage. The success of this certain person representing the country becomes a way to celebrate being a Filipino. Oftentimes, this celebration of triumph equates patriotism. Again, that's a good thing. But we rarely see the negative aspect of Filipino pride. According to Jessica Tracy, an associate professor of psychology at University of British Columbia, there are actually two kinds of pride. The first is authentic pride, the pride Manny Pacquiao felt when he won a boxing title because he worked really hard in it is authentic pride. But if Manny Pacquiao thinks that he won because he is the greatest and that he was born undefeated becomes hubristic pride, which is the second type. To put it another way, authentic pride is the positive kind of pride, and on the other hand, hubristic pride is problematic because it's all about arrogance and egotism. In the context of Filipino pride, if we celebrate the triumph of our fellow Filipino who made it internationally because we think that Filipinos are better than the other nationality, that's the time it becomes hubristic, and to be honest, it happens. Take note, Jessica Tracy's study on pride covers a wide range of topics. Pride, which is used by a certain group of people or race, is a part of it and is used in the context of this video essay. To answer the question to what extent this hubristic pride, which falsely takes the form of national pride, becomes a reflection of how self-worth and secure we are as a nation, Cynthia Piquet, associate professor of psychology at the University of California, Davis, said that hubristic pompous displays of group pride might actually be a sign of group insecurity as opposed to a sign of strength. In addition, Jessica Tracy said, it turns out people who have the hubristic collective pride in their group, underlying it all is an insecurity about whether their group is good enough, really. When group members exhibit signs of hubristic pride such as often exaggerated statements about their country, it could be a sign of underlying insecurity. To be fair, we Filipinos have the reasons to feel insecure. If we try to evaluate the state of our country in some of its aspects, Philippines, which is still the sick man of Asia, its constant increase in poverty rate, dirty politics, threatened territorial security, poor and forgotten popular culture industry, and the list goes on. I mean, the feeling of national insecurity is somehow valid, given the several years of colonization, and unless you don't really see Philippines in its real current state.
I work a lot in the slums of Tondo, Manila, and the life there is it's poor and it's very sad. And I've always taught myself to look for the beauty in it, to look in the beauty in the faces of the children, and to be grateful. And I would bring this aspect as a Miss Universe to see situations with a silver lining.
The problem with this national insecurity is when it becomes intense, resulting into what we call Cenocentrism, a concept in sociology which refers to the belief that another culture is superior to one's own. This is pretty obvious, especially in popular culture. The best example of Cenocentrism in popular culture is the Filipinos' undying support to foreign movies, music, and so on, while exhibiting minimal support locally. The rise of Filipino audience in South Korean dramas signifies that Filipinos prefer K-drama over our own heavily Mexican-influenced drama.
Oh, hello. I couldn't help but notice you admiring me yesterday in the courtyard.
What?
Oh, you don't speak English. You like me sing. You like me sing very much.
Moreover, the growing numbers of whitening products in the Philippines also tells us that the majority of Filipino women still considers Eurocentric beauty as the main standard of beauty. These Cenocentric examples are the confusing inconsistencies of Pinoy pride. Similar to this idea, Hazel Dahl wrote in her article, "It is hypocritical when an audience lavishly celebrates a Filipino singer that gains international popularity while promising local indie acts are continually labeled as jaja." It is ironic when the romanticization of Filipino resilience makes the front page, when the struggle caused by the crooked system are nothing to be proud of. If Pinoy pride becomes Hobristic pride, which is a sign of low collective social status, which then leads to cultural inferiority complex called Cenocentrism, where do this connection leads us? Of course, this paves the way to what we now call thirst for global validation. If you came from a group of people, a country or culture deemed by the majority as insignificant, there's always this need for reassurance or validation that we are not visible. That after all, we are not all bad. We seek this validation from a group of people whose culture we consider better than ours. And this explains why Filipino clickbaiting exists. Filipino vlogger, podcaster, and Ripple awardee M.A. Buendia said in a Twitter post, "Pinay Baiting is a marketing strategy used by creators to attract Filipino audience and fans. Foreign YouTubers exaggerate reaction videos to our singers, series, TV shows, and films involving the Philippines in their plotline. It's effective because our thirst for global validation is real." Sadly, even foreigners are aware of this desperate need for validation, and they are taking advantage of it. This is not to say that those foreign vloggers are all the same. We must ask ourselves in the end if whether those reactions are genuine or do sound too nice to be true. Although there could also other reasons as to why these foreign vloggers target Filipino viewers, may it be because Filipinos spend most of the time on the internet, or Filipinos' English proficiency, any of these reasons does not sound right anyway. So, where do we go from here? The problem with toxic Filipino pride starts when we don't recognize the fine line between authentic pride and hubristic Pinoy pride. Patriotism is not limited to having a national pride when a fellow Filipino is recognized globally. There are many ways to show patriotism. Helping a fellow Filipino during a national struggle, supporting local, and preserving our culture are just one.